Rick and Morty's 9th episode of Season 6 is another character-driven episode showing growth in both Morty and Rick. A Rick and King Mortar's Mort is a really goofy but poignant episode filled with strangely accurate magical bones, awesome guest voices, and genital mutilation. Before we get more into today's review, I would greatly appreciate y'all liking this video and subscribing so we can hit our goal of 69,420 subscribers. Make sure to check out my main page Killjoy Jake if maybe horror movies are more your thing. Alright, enough shameless plugs. Time for the review. To start off this episode, Rick and Morty land on an asteroid with a pop-up market. I remember a long time ago some guy bought my Friday the 13th shirt off my back at this Asian food festival in Cleveland. I wonder if he's still wearing that sweaty shirt today. Anyways, Morty gets selected to be a Knight of the Sun for being oh so polite. Rick thinks that this is pretty lame and probably kinda weird. It's not too often that strangers are offering you weapons for picking up some food that they dropped. Kinda whack in my opinion. After a hilariously long period of indecision, Morty takes up the sword and is actually transported to the sun. Like, the actual sun. You know, the one that is 5,778 degrees Kelvin, which in layman's terms means it's really damn hot. The newly named Mortaniel is welcomed to the kingdom of the sun with a cute little song and other knights telling him about how cool it is to be a knight. Morty looks for some sort of drawback, but at first there doesn't seem to be one, until he is forced to cut off his own dick. Man, you really should have asked some more questions a minute ago, Morty. As a fellow penis-having person, this scene really irks me. Morty declines to cut off his own member, of course, and Rick comes to try to save the day, even telling Morty that he won't make fun of him later. The King of the Sun tells Morty that the only way to leave now is to best him in combat, which he easily does with an AI-learning, blade-loving sword, and to specify, I do mean the vampire superhero movie from the 90s starring Wesley Snipes. Oddly enough, this isn't the first episode of Rick and Morty to reference those movies. Dan Harmon must be a fan. I mean, we all know how much he loves Die Hard. I read a review for this episode earlier describing this plot device as stupid, but I think it works really well throughout to show how Morty handles these situations. It's silly for sure, but what are you expecting from an adult animated comedy? This isn't a Martin Scorsese film. I like that at its core, Rick and Morty is an adult animated comedy, but it transcends that at certain points. This show consistently makes me laugh, but it can also make me cry and feel strongly for certain characters at different points. I'm not really crying over Peter Griffin, you know what I mean? Morty then becomes the King of the Sun, and he unfortunately can't just give up that title. He tries to leave, but the Knights of the Sun follow him home. You ever have that one buddy that just won't leave you alone? Since they can't die, because remember, they were living on the dang sun, this is a pest that can't be killed so simply. Morty can't take it anymore, so with a little bit of critical thinking in 6th grade science, he completely obliterates the Knights' belief system. They disband and they go do heroin. I wish I was joking about that last part, but no, that is actually what happens. By doing this, Morty accidentally starts a war between all of the planets. Now, at first, I was shocked we didn't see the Plutonians in this episode. We even had a line from Rick referencing that episode where he says hanging out on Pluto is some Jerry League shit. The past couple of seasons have heavily referenced past episodes too, so I was really shocked when they just didn't come back into this episode. It would have been a perfect opportunity to reintroduce Scroopy Noopers and Flippy Nips. But then I realized something really dark about this episode. I think they kinda just soft confirmed that all of the Plutonians are dead. Remember how the planet was shrinking in that episode because they were disparaging their planet for resources? Yeah, pretty sure that Pluto isn't a planet now, and I just don't think it is anything anymore. Wow, that is excellent writing if I'm right about that. Morty makes the conflict worse while talking to the leaders of the other planets. One of them is even voiced by Jack Black. No way, he's from I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, the sequel to I Know What You Did Last Summer, and other stuff too. I also want to note that this random line from Rick where he's like, wow, those chicken bones were spot on. Something about that just really tickled my pickle. Never doubt the bones is what I've learned from this episode. After a war montage scored by Pink Floyd's Goodbye Blue Sky, great choice, we see Rick and Morty reconcile. Morty confronts Rick on why he's being so agreeable. Stop! It's actually suspicious, and he thinks that maybe all of this is a bit, like the Vat of Acid episode where he kinda does the same thing. To keep continuity with Analyze Piss, Rick is trying to be more agreeable and to know when he needs to sit on the sidelines. In this situation though, I think Rick would have probably helped a little more if he wasn't just sitting on the sidelines. I mean, a 14-year-old boy probably shouldn't be the one to solve planetary politics. Just saying that makes me laugh. Morty comes up with a plan to re-illusion the disillusioned Knights of the Sun, who are all junkies now. Remember that from earlier? The Knights really like shooting up, and they don't want to follow King Morty anymore, until he offers to cut off his own tallywhacker, but for real this time. Okay, maybe this episode is getting a little stupid. Rick devises a plan so that Morty doesn't have to cut off his own wiener, making 3 fake dicks with various failsafes. The Kingdom of the Sun sees right through all of this, detecting all 3 of his fake wieners though. The last one goes all the way back to those magical bones. What did I tell you about the bones? Never doubt the bones! Rick and Morty run, get cornered, and then pull an old trick on the Kingdom of the Sun. The old vat of acid and fake bones technique. Ah, a classic. Morty then changes this ridiculous tradition because the Knights now see how stupid it was in the first place. They think that Morty actually sacrificed his entire life to kind of stop all of this and to update an outdated tradition. This is honestly a big episode for both Rick and Morty. We are seeing a very healthy change in Rick that doesn't quite disturb the dynamic in my opinion due to how they're handling it. And Morty is following through with saving the dimension they're already in. At any point in this episode, Rick and Morty could have found a different dimension to just hop to, but they're not doing that anymore. They've outgrown that, and I love that for both of them. This is a healthier way to deal with their issues, even if it gets messy and can feel tedious at times. Not only is this somewhat of a sequel to the Vat of Acid episode, it's also continuing themes from the season's premiere, showing how Morty doesn't want any other mistake to go unresolved. Like I said earlier, they could have just left and started fresh. That was always on the table. Doing this instead shows so much more character growth and can lead to more interesting episodes in the future, where they actually have to clean up their own messes. Since the last 2 episodes were connected, I wonder if all of this follows into the finale next week. From the sneak preview we got, it doesn't really reveal too much besides a very healthy Rick giving his family members some hilarious interdimensional gifts. This cryptic tease has me guessing that there will most likely be more to the episode than what meets the eye right now. Color me intrigued. What did you guys think of the latest episode of Rick and Morty? Leave me something about it in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one, Space Cowboy.